Hello and welcome to SRIRAM IAS. My name is Aman Sharan. Today, we have with us All India Rank 582 PRAVEEN YADAV. And we are quite privileged to have him with us because he was also associated with our interview guidance program. So, as we must tell about All India Rank 582 PRAVEEN YADAV, we must all tell that he has law as optional, which is very good optional to have. And it was his third attempt in which he cracked this exam. He seems to be a very spirited guy. And let's now tune into him. Let's ask him that how his journey has been cracking the most prestigious exam in this country.
Hello, sir. Thank you for having me here, sir. Sir, this was my third attempt, as sir has already told you. I started my education from St. George's College, Missouri. That is where I did my class 10 from. Thereafter, I did my class 12 from DPS from New Delhi. Post that, I chose to do law from Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia National Law University, Lucknow. And I've been preparing post that. So, in my first attempt, that was in 2023, I cleared the prelims. I actually missed the mains by a close margin. In my next attempt, I could not clear the prelims itself. So you go from a very high ride of writing the mains and then not clearing the prelims. That was a very low point for me, honestly. Then I started a brief stint at my law practice after my 2024 prelims. And before my 2025 prelims, I decided to take a break and focus on my prelims itself. And that is how I cleared the prelims, mains, and the interview. But post my mains, because I thought that this would be my last attempt, I chose to give only 3 attempts, and that is how I decided that I'll look for my plan B, that is litigation. And post my mains, I started working in Delhi High Court, and I'm a practicing advocate.
Okay. So, Praveen, क्या changes आप लेकर आए अपने last attempt से so that you were able to crack or achieve such a prestigious rank in this exam? What were the changes which you did in the last 1 year, or we can say 2 years, because you were able to crack pre last time?
Right, sir.
So, what were the things which you tuned in yourself because you're able to write mains earlier than that in your first attempt itself?
Right, sir.
Which is the great achievement in itself.
Right, sir.
Because a lot of people, they are unable to crack pre at times, they get into this loop, but you were able to crack pre in the first attempt. In the second, you were unable to, and then you secured rank. सीधे तो क्या ऐसा किया आपने पिछले 1 से 2 साल के अंदर जिसमें कि ये चीज हो पाई?
Sir, the biggest reason I feel was being detached from my results. I've already told you that for me this year, the paper was not about clearing the paper. The paper was about giving my best. I thought about giving my best and not focusing on the results. Because in my previous attempts, I was focused more on the results than I'm actually working hard. I was focused that I have to secure a rank that year. But this year, I was focusing more on giving my best and let destiny decide what is best for me. And apart from that, sir, what also I made a change was because 2023 prelims was one of the toughest prelims, what I've seen, be it the GS paper or the CSAT paper. So the major changes which I feel in my mains, what I did was, in my previous attempts, I focused more on completing the paper. But this year, I focus more on the value addition. I focus more on data. I focus more on substantiating all my points. And that was, I feel, one of the biggest differentiator in my mains this year.
So, if we can say it was more psychological than strategic by nature. So, what psychological problems you faced when you were unable to crack it? Let's talk about that first,
Right,
and then we'll see what changes you did to that.
Right, sir. So, psychological for the fact that people are stressed, anxious about their results. They're anxious before the prelims. Me particularly, I feel that every time before my paper, I get stressed because before my 2023 prelims, I could not sleep for 2 nights straight. I was focusing on what will happen in the final paper. And that is one of the major reasons why I could not clear the 2024 prelims. I actually could not sleep for 2 nights straight. And those thoughts coming in your minds that what will happen if I do not sleep? I'll destroy my paper. I won't be able to clear the prelims. And that actually happened. My worst nightmare turned true. That was it. But this attempt, I was clear in my head. I was not focused on the results. I was like, whatever happens will happen for the best. And I actually went in and gave the paper with confidence, not overconfidence, not underconfidence. Optimum amount of confidence. And that actually worked for me. So psychology plays a very important role.
So, what kind of we can say detours you took to basically control or keep your psychology in check or positive in that manner? What all things you changed? Are there some hobbies, interests which you pursued in order to keep all these negativity out of place or out of this your whole preparation thing?
So there was this particular activity which I used to do from my first attempt itself, and that was playing any sport. So I love to play badminton every day. I do that every day, be it my mains is next day, my interview is next day, I would rather take out an hour every day, play badminton or any physical activity. That was something which I used to do regularly. About the D2s which I did was something in my initial attempts, my social life was very limited. That was till 2024. I was focused more on the studying part. But this year I realized that for UPSC, the social life is the cost. I cannot actually stop that. So this year I actually tried and associated it myself with a lot of my activities. And I was going out with my friends also on weekends. That was something which I did.
Okay, fine. So what you mean to say is that sports actually played a very important role
Right,
in
sir.
stress busting in all these activities. Okay. And as far as your optional is concerned, did you make any changes in your law optional strategy?
Right, sir. So because 2023 Prelims was just after my foundation course, I had a very limited choice, very little limited value enhancement in my optional. So whatever topics I covered from my notes, from my dukis, I focused on that. And I was able to score decent marks. But this year, because there was, I feel all thanks to Kshitij Sharma sir, AR 558 last year, he made his notes readily available on OneNote. And his notes were very comprehensive. They covered each and every topic of law optional. And I was lucky enough to get hold of these notes and actually studied from them in tandem with my actual notes. So I was able to point out the, the missing parts in my notes, and I was actually able to cover from his notes. And that is how I was able to score one of the highest marks in law optional this year. That was in 272.
So do you think your background in law played a very important role in picking that particular optional? Was that a very relevant thing, or a person with a non-law background also can take it up as their option?
But sir, honestly, my major reason for choosing law as an optional was my background in law and my backup option as a litigation lawyer. Because I thought that if UPSC doesn't work out in my favor, I'd rather do litigation. That was my plan B. And so that was a very conscious choice to go for law. About any non-law student picking law optional, that's a very normal scene. I have seen a lot of non-lawyers opting for law and scoring one of the highest marks in law. I personally know of a lot of people who have taken law as an option who are not from a law background, and they scored really good marks.
Okay, fine. So optional was completely covered. How much did you score in your optional?
I scored 272 marks.
It's a very good score, I guess.
It's one of the highest this year, and previous years also it is one of the good marks.
So one of the highest
Yeah.
scores one can achieve in the particular option.
Right.
So it's a good option to have.
Right, sir.
Okay. And what about your GS strategy? Because I can see that you scored 410,
Right,
which is
sir.
a very good score as far as GS concerned. Anything above 390,
Right.
400 is considered very good in GS.
Right, sir.
So what's the analysis about this GS part?
So, in my first attempt, in my first mains, in my GS1, I scored very low marks. That was around 70 marks. But this year, I scored 100 marks in GS1. The major improvement I did was actually focus on society. So, what I realized this year was that most of the people who are writing mains, the answers in history and geography are more or less similar for all of them because they focus on the same sources. The only difference you can bring out is in society papers because that actually brings out your thoughts, your examples, you are substantiating those examples. So this year I focused more on society and geography. These two were the particular areas where I could focus because history, you never know what kind of questions can come in the actual paper. This year also the Chandela dynasty, questions like that, which are very random. Not everyone can cover those papers. And I'm pretty sure most of the people who wrote mains, they could not have thought about those questions. So focus on the probables which are possible to do. Society is one of them. About GS2, I feel my law background did help me score very good marks in GS2.
Yeah.
GS3 is something which is a stagnant score for me also. I scored 78, which is a lower side score on the GS3 paper. But that is something to do with the actual paper itself because the marking has been like that.
Generally, it is low.
Yes, sir. The marking has been like that in GS3 only, like that on itself. But about GS4, I feel GS4 helped me a lot this year. I focused a lot on the theoretical aspect of the GS4 paper and I kind of substantiated every single point with a very unique example. I did not focus on the normal available examples like Ashok Khemka, Kiran Bedi ma'am, not like that. I focused on very unique and different examples from my own district. I recalled the names of my previous district magistrates. I recalled the schemes which they particularly run. And I wrote those examples, which fetched me a decent marks in my GS4 paper also.
Did your optional help in the GS4 section?
Yes, sir. So, particularly the case studies part, the law option makes you analytical in the approach. And I was able to analyze all the case studies from a third perspective of a legal character.
Okay. So what you mean to say is that unique examples are going to help in
Right, sir.
PS4 anyway, because what usually students do is that just before the exam, they just bring out any material,
Right.
they just mug it out each and every example. So all the examples which are coming across in UPSC are usually same whatsoever.
Right, sir.
So uniqueness always helps. Where else do you think being unique has helped you in this whole journey? What do you think about it, whether in your interview or somewhere like that?
Sir, I feel personally uniqueness not just in me but all the rankers. What I've seen is if you go and talk to all the rankers, the only common thing in their approach is revision. Revision of limited resources. Not going out of the blue and choosing 3 or 4 resources, but sticking to one resource and revising that particular resource at least 3 to 4 times. That is what I found the common pattern in all the rankers. Apart from that, in your interview, be organic. Do not go about what people say. Do not have a balanced opinion. Have a direct opinion, whatever you have it. Don't be following both the sides of the answer. Stick to one, and I'm pretty sure that will fetch you good marks. Be it your means answers also.
As far as revision goes, as you said, revision is the most important aspect.
Right.
Anyway, while we take it up in SRIRAM IAS, what we say is that keep Sunday as the day of God, and the God for UPSC is revision.
Right, sir.
Okay. So what happens? How did you plan your revision? Means usually students find practical problem in that. Revision everybody knows it's
Right,
very
sir.
important, but उसमें प्रैक्टिकल प्रॉब्लम्स लोग फेस करते हैं कि सर किस दिन करें, 4 दिन का पढ़ा है तब 5वें दिन वो पढ़ें या फिर पीछे का पढ़ें, कितने पीछे का पढ़ें. What's your take on that?
Sir, personally, मेरे लिए ये था कि whatever I used to study in my classes on that day, I used to revise that particular day itself.
Okay.
I never used to take it to the next day. So if I studied something in my classes, so I'll go back to my home, I'll do my newspaper and everything. I'll do whatever I want to do. But the last hour of the day would be revising that content which I've done in my class. So that would help me like that. And in the week's end, that is probably Sunday or probably the month's end, I would revise all that content again, whatever I've done in the previous week. So every day's content that day itself, every week's content the weekends. So that is how I did it. And by the time you do 2 or 3 revisions, I'm pretty sure you are already way through your content. You don't need to revise it again 3 or 4 times. So if you do it after a year or so, you'll be able to recall it.
And what is the role note making plays in this revision thing? Note making, did you go for note making or did you not go for note
So I did go for note making. I feel notes are the most essential part of this preparation.
making? Okay.
If you're writing a mains, if you're writing a prelims, they are the go-to sources for everything. You cannot go about reading every single book again and again. It is about through more notes itself that you can revise your content, and they'll help you frame an answer easily. Because mains answers are not about going on the spot and thinking about the answer at that particular point. You need to have a certain template in your mind. You need to have a background in your mind to form an answer at that particular point. That will only come if you revise your notes again and again.
Okay. So note making and revision without note making is even incomprehensible.
So then it's no use. You're just wasting your time.
Because how much can you read
Exactly.
the whole books? How many times can you read the whole thing? So without note making, revision is of no use at all.
Exactly, sir.
Okay. Now let's move to what changes you do as far as mains answer writing, because you just while you were discussing earlier,
Right.
you told me that before the first time you were giving mains, before the pre, you didn't write any answer at all.
Right, sir.
So what changes did you bring? Because people usually now start writing answer right from the start itself. So what changes did you bring in that?
So first and foremost thing I feel the very important aspect is that if I do not know the content, how will I be able to write an answer? And I'll demotivate myself if I'm writing an answer. If I do not know the content, that'll be just like attempting anything to get defeated itself. So what I did was that I after my prelims itself, I took hold of my coaching notes and everything. I formed a basic opinion about everything. And in my first prelim itself, I wrote close to 47 full-length mocks. That is immense because you get 3 months time. It's writing a mock every alternative day. And because the pressure is extreme, you need to complete your paper on time. There are 20 questions, 3 hours, every question 7.5 minutes. That's the extreme pressure situation. And that is what you need to accomplish first. So it took me close to 18 mocks to complete my paper on time. And that is how I was able to complete my paper on time. But that was not sufficient because I missed the mains cutoff by 5 or 6 marks. So I needed an improvement. The only areas which I could focus was substantiation. And this year, I used a lot of AI engines like ChatGPT, Gemini to enhance my answers through case studies, examples, data, whatsoever I could get, I was focusing on that. Even if I was reading a particular sentence, I used to substantiate it with data or a case study. That was something that helped me this year.
Okay, so substantiation helped in general, and
Right.
for substantiation you use AI tools.
Right, sir.
Okay, and for those, because it's really very difficult to find examples as
Right.
per your own question,
Right, sir.
and AI helps in that.
Right, sir.
What do you think AI, how is it going to change the whole preparation thing in coming years?
Sir, it is going to help you a lot, honestly. But there are a few drawbacks. There are drawbacks of AI that there is hallucination with AI. The moment you fetch data from AI, do not be sure that the data will always be correct. You need to double check it from another resource. So what I did was that I used to fetch data from one engine and I used to fetch it into another engine to cross verify it and then fetch it into third engine if I felt that the data is dicey. So by the time you check it from the second engine, you are sure that the data is correct if it is saying that, because it runs it through its own database, not just the database of other engine. And that is how AI works. It runs through parallel databases of the internet which are available for people. So that is what it helped me.
So the AI can be used, but with caveat.
Yes, sir, with
I mean, you need to be intelligent enough to check what is
Exactly.
right or what is wrong.
Exactly, sir.
Okay. Now let's talk about how was your interview experience? What helped you in interview? Because you scored quite a decent mark.
Right, sir.
Although this year a lot of people have got more than
Right, sir.
200,
Right, sir.
but 183 is anyway very good score in the interview, UPSC CSE interview. So what is your experience in interview, and how did SRIRAM IAS help in that?
Sir, honestly, so my interview score is very decent going by my board's average, which is very low compared to that other interviews. But this year, people have scored very good. They scored more than 200. There are around 185, 186 people who have scored more than 200. But I find my score decent. My experience at SRIRAM IAS was very helpful because I was able to score the similar marks which I got in the SRIRAM IAS interview board.
Yeah.
And Oberoi sir was very helpful in his remarks. He told me about a few things which actually helped me in the final interview. He told me not to worry about the questions which I didn't know, and I had to be confident in saying that I do not know the answers, and which I did for quite a few questions, honestly. Around close to 5 to 6 questions, I said that I do not know the answer. And I feel it boosted my confidence, honestly. Rather than demotivating me, it boosted my confidence that I was able to say it with confidence that if I didn't know anything, I was not guessing there. I was saying it with confidence.
Okay. And as far as interview score is concerned this time, I hope you will be candid enough to talk about it, that you saw a variance. So do you think it's high time that UPSC should think about normalizing the interview score and all?
Sir, I feel there needs to be a balance, honestly. So a lot of people who are clearing because I am on the good side of the fence that I cleared the paper. But there are a quite number of people who have not cleared because of the interview marks. I mean, I've seen a lot of mark sheets where people are scoring around 780, 790, 800s, and they're still not making it to the list because they have scored 140, 130 in the interviews. I actually feel that if a person is writing means that year, if they're scoring that good marks, I highly doubt there will be a very huge flaw in their personality
That's unfortunate.
to reward them 130 or 120 marks. So that is something which I feel that UPSC needs to work on.
Now, as we were just discussing about the interview score, as I must tell this particular thing that in the board which was sitting in SRIRAM IAS, uh, uh, Praveen scored 180, and in his UPSC CSE interview, he scored 183. So quite similar, and just told about that it really helped him. And in interview, what about the opinionated questions? We were discussing about
Right,
it,
sir.
because there is some jury still out on that particular thing, that one should be balanced about his answers and what kind of questions can come. So what was your take on that?
So honestly, because this year I gave close to 10 or 12 interviews, mock interviews, I found one thing common. Wherever I gave the interview, most of the chairpersons told me to have a stand. Not focusing on the balanced opinion that I'll go do this or do that. Have a stand. Be it a positive stand or a negative stand. That brings out your personality, honestly. So I actually did that in my final interview. I was asked a lot of opinionated questions, especially on the law aspect. And I took a stand. And I feel that rewarded me really good.
Most of the questions asked by you were from law only.
Right, sir. Most of 95% of the questions were on law, nothing on my DAF. And
So
everything.
that's what I was about to ask, that what is the relevance of DAF then? What do you think is the relevance of DAF?
Sir, I mean, it's very hard to judge that way because I'm a single person right now. But
That is fine.
talking to a lot of people, yeah, DAF does play a role there, but not to the extent that what we have come to know that DAF is the only thing which people ask and people bring in. I feel if you have any particular aspect in your the CV or the DAF which goes, which is a very highlighting part, the interview board will definitely ask questions from that. For me, that was law. The moment they read law from my DAF, they ask questions on law only, nothing else.
Okay. So that might play a very important role.
That's
But if you have something which is, and in your case, what usually happens is that people come from this. I am from engineering background.
Right, sir.
I took PSIR as optional, but you come from law background. You took
Law as an option, right, sir.
So they might have got attracted
Yes.
towards it. कि चलो इसी से पूछते हैं because the person might be comfortable in that.
Right, sir.
And were they pushy about the opinion?
Right, so they were pushing me about opinions. There were quite a few questions. One of the questions was that the constitution has become redundant. It is high time that we remove it. It was an extreme opinionated question. The other question was the Supreme Court does not provide justice anymore. There is no justice for the poor in the Supreme Court. So I had my opinion for that, and to the level that the chair, the board member, they had to say that we both have to agree to disagree on this. So it was to that level, but stick to your point. Do not, they will push you to change your opinion, but do not do that in the interview. That can be like a very bad thing for you in the interview.
So if you have an opinion, back it up with argument.
Right.
That's a positive argument.
Right, sir.
Okay. And now as we can see, prelims is quite near. I hope you'll be appearing again.
Right, sir.
So you also will give your prelims. How will you shape up your strategy for this year prelims? How will you change it? Because as you told me in your first attempt when you cracked pre, you gave a lot of mocks.
Right, sir.
So what difference will you bring in this particular attempt?
Sir, for now, because I the first step is revision. I'll focus on my core notes, which I've done. The second step would be doing a lot of mocks again. So I'll target at least 15 to 20 mocks this year again.
Okay.
And the third step would be current affairs. So these three things are the most important things in prelims, and it is in this particular order only: revision, mocks, and current affairs. Do not substitute your revision or mocks for current affairs. Current affairs have a value, but a very limited value. If you actually go about the paper, there are only close to 10 or 12 questions which actually come from the current affairs. The rest has become a part of the static only.
Yes.
If you consider every single question as current affairs, that is not the case. Most of the questions are from static. Only close to 8-10 questions are from the current affairs. And I'm pretty sure, even if you have read questions, you will only be able to do 5 or 6 from them. So it's about only 5-6 questions or about 80 questions that you can actually do from your revision or your mocks. So the choice is yours, but I'll tell you to focus on the revision part and the mocks. Do not give mocks and leave it like that. Give mocks and analyze them. If you're not analyzing the mocks, there is no point of giving the mocks like that.
Okay. This analysis part which you just told about, what do you think, what's the relevance of this analysis part? Because you see, nowadays what is happening is that usually the tests which are conducted, after that the discussion is there.
Right.
Okay, when the student and aspirant can go and watch the discussion, the whole discussion. Okay, then how will that person will be self-assessing themselves? What was your way towards judging yourself? Okay, what is my result and how did I commit a silly mistake or a factual mistake or a logical mistake? How did you differentiate in that in your preparation?
So I used to pick up my mock, whichever I used to give. I used to focus on the rationale first. Why did I mark this question? Or what was the reason behind marking this question? So there were the two types of question, because I feel prelims is a very calculative game. It's not about that you mark it from your knowledge itself. There are quite a number of questions which you like have an opinion, but you're not sure about the answer. Then you'll have to take an educated guess there. But educated guess precedes the word named as educated. You cannot be blindly going and guessing there. So what I used to do was that in every paper, there were particular questions which I used to mark as educated guess. I used to put a cross in front of them, so that when I come back, I used to analyze those questions separately and find out whether it was a positive for me or a negative for me. And if you do that, I'm 120% sure it will turn out to be a net positive for everyone, not just for me, but for everyone. It's about the calculations. So what I used to do was I used to read that question, focus on the keywords, not know why extreme words. I used to look for them. And the best part about analyzing is it's not just about analyzing 100 questions. There is a variance of 400 more questions from that, because every option is a possibility of a new question. So while you are analyzing one paper, you're actually doing 500 questions there. So that is how you should do it. Find out your mistakes. Avoid silly mistakes like that. If you're not reading no, not, whether, these kind of words, if you're not reading, you're like self-sabotaging yourself. You should focus on that, special keywords, and read every single line, whatever the question is. Even if you have like marked it correctly, analyze that also. There is a good number of possibility that the options might give you another question.
What is your take on elimination technique? which goes around in this ecosystem?
I mean, if you do it in a very calculated way, it's good. But if you do it blindly, it's sabotaging your preparation.
Educated guess.
Yeah,
The thing which you're talking about.
exactly. So it's the aptitude which you develop after solving a quite good number of mocks. It's not something which will come like, let's say, in first 5 or 10 mocks. It will come over a period of time. It is
The knack.
right,
The knack.
right, sir. It won't be something which you can learn from a person. Like, if you ask me that, you teach me that aptitude, I won't be able to do that. It is something that has to come from within. It is something which has to come from your intrusive thoughts itself.
It's very innate,
Right, sir.
and it can developed
Right.
through practice, giving mocks and all those things. And that's what we suggest here in SRIRAM IAS also. What usually students come and they show me the paper, and they, because earlier we were taking care of prelims team also. So in that, what I observed is that people talk about elimination technique. कि सर इसमें एक नहीं रहेगा, तीन रहेगा, दो नहीं रहेगा, क्यों नहीं रहेगा इसका आंसर है, ठीक है, क्यों नहीं रहेगा इसका आंसर क्या है. And usually what we see in UPSC questions, CSE questions, that every question is related to one theme.
Right, sir.
And if you are able to crack that theme,
Right, sir.
you'll be able to reach the answer of that particular question. जितना भी difficult हो, कई बार theme crack नहीं हो पाती है,
Right.
and which I think कि you are able to do that because you follow that procedure.
Right, sir.
तो अभी जो आपकी जर्नी रहेगी प्री की तरफ, what do you think कि उसमें क्या आपने कहा रिवीजन करना है, फिर टेस्ट देना है. But another strategy people usually take up is they give test, they point out what is their weak areas,
Right,
lacunas, and then they revise it. And there's another strategy, people go for the whole revision first,
Right, sir.
and then they give test. So what is better?
Sir, see, that's your personal call, honestly. But what works for me is that I do the whole revision first. It's not at the cost that until and unless I'm done with the revision, I won't give any mocks. It's not like that. I decide that every week I have to give one mock, no matter what. Even if I've read only 5 words, I'll give the mock at the end of the week. So that is, I'm very consistent in my mocks. So focus on the revision, take one subject at a time. Probably give subject-wise mocks put after that. Then look after those topics which you are not being able to answer, and then write it down and read it again. Read those topics which you are not able to answer, and probably skip those topics which you have already good command over, like that.
Okay. So Praveen, you are quite young.
Right.
So what do you think that all these students who are starting preparation from 11th, 12th class, 10th class, or who have taken up this particular preparation in their college, how they should go about this particular preparation when they are pursuing their graduation, or even before that, what they should be doing?
Sir, I'm totally against it, to be honest. Sir, I actually feel that people should not mess their with their school life or their college life. I mean, at college level, you can start it in your final years, not before that. Because the preparation is very consuming. What happens is, once you start preparation in your, let's say, first year of college, by the time you are in your third year of college, you already have that saturation point. You cannot continue anymore. And let's say if you're not 21 by the end of your college, you'll have to wait 1 or 2 years for the paper to come. And that time you're already at the high of your college life, your saturation point is there, you're seeing your peers earn that money. You'll be like that, it's not like good to have continue this preparation, you'll move on to a different field. So the momentum lasts for, I say, 2 or 2.5 years only, or probably 3 years at max. And after that, the momentum dies of the preparation. That is the case with me, because this year I was done with my momentum. I was like, the momentum continued after I cleared the paper, not before that. Because I was on the tail end of my momentum. I was like, if it doesn't happen this year, I'll be switching careers. I won't be attempting the UPSC again. So focus on that, make a good plan. Do not keep a huge break between your starting phase and actually appearing for the paper. Because what most people do is, while the prelim comes, they are like, we are not fully prepared. I think so it will be wasting your attempt. That actually happens when you are actually writing mains 1, 2, 3 times. It is not the case like you can go initially even if you are 50% prepared. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to attempt the paper. No one is 100% prepared. Not even rank 1, not even rank 959, whatever the person is.
That is not possible.
Exactly, so no one can be sure that they are 100% prepared.
The kind of score people are getting, the cutoff in pre is not even 50%.
Right, sir.
Even the toppers in your final result,
right, sir,
they hardly score 51%.
Exactly, sir.
At that 51%, All India rank 1 is coming up.
Right, sir.
Okay. So anyway, going for one thing which I observed in that, out of my experience in this field, is that one should always endeavor that I should be able to read everything.
Right, sir.
But with this particular knowledge कि ये हो नहीं पाएगा, ठीक है, ये जानते हुए थोड़ा डिटैचमेंट
बहुत जरूरी है सर, बहुत
वो रखने की बहुत जरूरत है
बहुत जरूरत
कि आपको सुबह से लेकर शाम तक ये सोच के पढ़ाई करनी है कि सब कुछ पढ़ लूँ मैं,
हाँ,
लेकिन रात में ये सोना है ये सोचकर कि ये हो नहीं पाएगा,
राइट,
और सुबह फिर से बेशर्मी के साथ उठना है
राइट सर,
और फिर से वो चीज़ करनी है। तो
राइट
ये
सर।
तो एक ऑब्वियस सी बात है, एंड वन शुड नॉट लूज देयर हार्ट। इन कॉलेज, व्हाट डू यू थिंक कि व्हाट एडेड टू योर पर्सनैलिटी, व्हाट एक्टिविटीज अ पर्सन कैन टेक अप which can eventually help them this preparation?
सर बिकॉज़ आई कम फ्रॉम अ लॉ कॉलेज, वहाँ पे सर हमारी काफ़ी एक्टिविटीज़ होती थी, लाइक वी हैड अ मूट कोर्ट कॉम्पिटिशन्स, वी हैड स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटीज़, वी हैड फेस्ट्स आल्सो, वी हैड सोशल एक्टिविटीज़। आई वाज़ अ पार्ट ऑफ एवरीथिंग। I was a person who used to volunteer for everything. You name it, I was there. And I feel that actually played an important role in my personality development. I feel you should be a part of everything, not focus just on one particular aspect, that is academics. And overall personality development is very important. And that is why I say to a lot of people that while you are in college, focus on your college, because that has to be your plan B. You cannot come out of college and think that what should I do as a plan B, and look for any other government exam as a plan B after UPSC, because government exams cannot be a plan B. It can be a plan A, probably your first aim, but plan B has to be a sure shot thing. It cannot also be unpredictable as UPSC has.
Okay. So after coming from college, you joined foundation course.
Right, sir.
Okay. What do you think the role foundation course plays in the preparation? Okay. How holistically the foundation course is able to understand the requirements of the particular aspirant, and because you were able to, once you were done with your foundation the very first year, you were able
sir.
to crack pre.
Right, sir.
So what role did that particular thing play?
Sir, I feel the foundation course main role is hand-holding support. So whatever we are going to do on our own, we are going to waste our time looking for relevant material and everything. The foundation course does that for you. And in my case, actually, they helped me through very good coaching notes and everything. And I was able to get hold of my notes, but they are not sufficient. A person who thinks that any coaching notes are sufficient, they'll have to do their part, because the coachings are doing their part by giving you the basic understanding of every topic.
Anyway, nothing is sufficient.
Exactly. So you'll have to do your part. That is, have that intrusive thought about every single thing, read different things, have a complete view about relevant current affairs topics. It's not just ki you read the topic, you're like, "Achha, this is the current affairs, this will come in the paper." You'll have to have an intrusive thought ki why this, what is the reason why this is coming in the newspapers like that. So that is something. Then you'll have to go through PYQs, do a lot of mocks for every stage. I feel mocks are a very important source for clearing this paper. Be it prelims, mains, interview, they are the blessing in disguise. It's an understatement, honestly. So mocks are a very important aspect. PYQs, they help you analyze the themes from where the questions are coming. Be it prelims, like the mains. And these days we actually have the toppers transcripts for interviews also.
Yes.
So they help you a lot in the interview preparation also. They help you guide what sort of questions are going to come in the interview. So these few things are very important. And in the end, above everything, revision. That is said less, revision is the most important aspect.
What do you think, Praveen? Okay, you said that you talked about the whole thing that mocks are so important, foundation course is important. What role did language play? Language, your command over language, you're coming from very good educational background.
Right, sir.
You did schooling from RK Puram, then you went for law college, and in law, language anyway plays very important role. It's all about language.
Right, sir.
How you are representing yourself. So what do you think the language plays the role, or what is the role of language in cracking this exam?
I mean, sir, it's very important, to be honest. I'm not just saying that be good in your particular English language only. If you're good, if you're a Hindi,
Any language,
you have to be good in your the language you are writing.
What usually I have observed is a person who is good in one language will be better in other languages also.
Yeah.
At least in other languages also, because it's a thing which a person inculcates.
Right, sir.
Once a person start taking interest in a particular language, the person will take interest in other languages also.
Right.
Okay, anyway, continue please.
So whatever your medium is, no matter what, whether it's Hindi, Bengali, Assamese, English, whatever it is, be fluent in it. Because I feel in the interview stage, it matters a lot. And not just in the interview stage, while you're writing essays, it's a very important aspect. Because the moment you have a good command over your language, you are able to form sentences, you are able to connect your paragraphs, that will reward you a lot. A lot. Because let's say if you're writing an answer in GS1, probably in English, and you start using wrong punctuations there, the examiner, even if he doesn't want to reward you bad marks, but there will be the some subconscious thing in his mind that the sentences are not making sense out there. So that will play a very big role in your evaluation. So focus on the punctuations, be it any language. Let me clarify, not just English, be it Hindi,
Any language, yes.
be it Tamil, any language. Be fluent with it, understand the basic punctuations, and write correctly. I'm pretty sure you will score good.
Praveen, as we have seen that essay has become an Achilles heel for a lot of students.
Right.
Okay, even if they're able to crack exam, as we were discussing
Right.
that before this particular session, that essay has become a thing which is a make or break thing, because a person can score 140 or 50.
Right, sir.
And at the same time, the person is able to score 80 also.
Right, sir.
And nothing to do with language. Once you speak that to that person, you find that he's very comfortable. But as we say, ये exam लिखने का exam है. तो what do you think कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है कि essay में इस तरह के स्कोर जो है वो देखने को मिल रहा है?
Sir, I feel the essay is a bane of contention for me also personally. I haven't been able to score good marks in essay. And honestly, I feel it is because of the subjectivity of the topics which we get and the nature of the subject itself. Because there is no one correct answer in essay. It's your opinion, your thoughts, which you are going to write in that. And no matter what, howsoever you are good in speaking, you have to write it there. You cannot expect that once you are good in a fluency of any particular language, you will sure get good marks in that. So I feel you can develop that by reading books or probably reading a lot, be it a newspaper or something. That will help you connect sentences, make better sense out of your paragraphs, and give you very new intrusive ideas and everything which you can actually pen down in your essay.
What I've seen is you have pointed out very important things about essay, about reading books and all those things. What I've seen in UPSC preparation is that usually it is said कि don't take too much interest in the subjects you are in.
Right, sir.
Okay, have the detached feeling anyway. Applicational detached feeling ने आपको नहीं दिलवा दी, ठीक है ना? But what I observed that in this whole UPSC जो पूरा मेंस है, इसमें एक essay एक ऐसी चीज है जो कि इंटरेस्ट से आप अच्छे नंबर ला सकते हो.
Right, sir.
अगर उसमें, because what I observed is that, because I also take essay sections,
sir.
what I observed is that people usually don't write essay at all. We were discussing before the session, you told me कि last time in 4th class you wrote essay and then you wrote. There's nothing issue, no issue with your language.
Right, sir.
Your language is quite lucid. You're able to communicate your feelings. As a matter of fact, it's really very surprising for me that you got 183. Then you are a 205, 2010 student, okay, which you will get in the next, okay, by God's grace. So what I see that people usually don't write essay. So what do you think that essay is a thing which they can take up in college while they are preparing for?
Right, sir.
But in future they might take up UPSC, CSC, they are decided with that. But with college studies, can they take up essay, CSAT and all these kind of things? What's your take on that?
Sir, I actually feel, sir, that's a failure of our curriculum, honestly. Because the last time I was told to write an essay, that was in class 4th or 5th.
Yes.
I don't think so. I have been told after that to write an essay. Or if I have been told to write an essay, that is probably a 1-page long essay or 2-page long.
And it's the best way to know about a person.
Exactly. So what happens is that essay and CSAT are particular papers which you can take up anytime. Be it you are in class 11, class 12. It's not something which is related to UPSC alone. That is about your internal personality. And CSAT is something about a basic aptitude. That's not going to help you just in the UPSC paper, but in every other paper wherever you go. So essay, you can, I'll say that start by reading topper copies. They are freely available on the internet. Go by any topper which you feel that they have scored good marks in essay. You can read their essays, can go through their formation of ideas, how they're writing it down, how they're making sense out of the particular topic. Because a lot of philosophical topics have started coming in UPSC.
Yes.
So it's not very static, like you can write down the pestle approach or you can write down anything. You'll have to form questions on the spot. You'll have to answer those questions with answers, examples, the case studies like that. So it's a very, intriguing subject, honestly. So you'll need to have interest in that subject, and interest can be developed over time. It won't come within, let's say, a fortnight or a month or a year's preparation. It has to come over a period of time. And that can be done by reading books, reading essays, and having that intrusive thoughts.
And write.
And write.
And
Yeah,
write.
particularly and write.
Once you read all these things, I would like to add in that, once you read, go through topper copies and you have read good books, then please attempt writing essays.
Right, sir.
What I have observed, because 1,200 words essay comes in UPSC, CST, right, or 500 words.
Right, sir.
Start from 500,
Right.
400 words. Start writing from that. And then you go on to 700, 800, 1,000,
Right, sir.
1,200, 1,500. Because now you just told, no,
Right, sir.
more pages came in this year's exam.
Yes, sir.
So people had to write more.
Right.
So one should prepare for the worst. Okay, this is a situation which can come across an exam. that some kind of thing like papers might increase
Right, sir.
and the answer sheet might be voluminous. You'll have to fill that.
You never know.
Okay. Yeah.
So the U in UPSC stands for unpredictable.
Yes,
That is what.
it is unpredictable.
So one thing that is my suggestion to everyone, because honestly, it was given by one of my seniors. You'll have a inertia initially writing whatever. Either if you're writing your first essay, if you're writing your first answer, you'll have that inertia always. So don't think that you're gonna write the best answer. Imagine that you're going to write the worst answer ever, and that way it will break the inertia. You'll be able to write every time you write an answer. That will be a better version of your previous answer, and that is an advice which I always follow. Don't focus on the results. Focus, just do the work, write an answer, and I'm pretty sure that will be better than your previous answers.
Okay, Praveen, I guess we have covered everything, right, from essay, prelims, mains and everything. And we also talked about your journey, your schooling, your interest in sports,
Right.
which I really liked actually, and how it can help in stress busting, because usually बहुत ही sundry life हो जाती है,
Right.
बहुत ही monotonous life हो जाती है while preparing for UPSC, थोड़ी lonely भी हो जाती है,
Right, sir.
because you can't be involved in some distracting activities. Social media से भी दूर होना पड़ जाता है कई बार. In that, playing sports plays a very important role. You're quite sporty by nature, in your language, in your demeanor, which might have helped in your exam.
I
For
hope.
sure, might not. Definitely helped in exam. And in coming year, I hope you will get a very decent rank in the next attempt.
I hope so.
By decent rank, I mean under 50, under 10 at times,
Right.
and we'll meet again then.
Right.
Okay. Oh, that's it from our side. This was basically a session, a podcast about a recent ranker in UPSC CSE 2025. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It was lovely talking to you.
Okay.